spent a lot of money on your kitchen remodel, or maybe you just spent a lot of money on your matching hand towels. In any case, your kitchen should be a safe place where you nourish your family. But in this video, we're going to share 4 culprits that are going on in most kitchens, and these culprits can create compounds in your body that can lead to trouble with your kidneys. Now, in most cases, you won't feel any symptoms until the damage is significant. But the good news is that we can make some adjustments to help you cook and eat in a safe way starting today. So your kidneys are your body's master filtration system. These little buggers are working like 24/7 to filter out half a cup of blood every single minute. That's more efficient than I've ever been at anything. They're constantly removing waste and extra water and balancing fluids and minerals and regulating blood pressure, but it's a delicate system that can be damaged. Now, we hear a lot about kidney damage with type 2 diabetes, and we're like, yeah, all that sugar is going to create some damage. But it's not the sugar, it's the glycation that sugar can cause that's really creating the trouble. And the problem is you can create similar compounds by the foods that you're eating or the way that you're preparing these foods, even when the recipe doesn't contain any sugar. So we're talking about compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs like all the cool kids call them. And these are potentially harmful compounds that form when proteins or fats combine with sugars, especially under high heat. So think of it as like a slow, unwanted caramelization process happening in your food and to some extent in your body, which is linked to inflammation and stiffness in your tissues and things just really not working the way they're supposed to. The body is made to remove some of these AGEs, and your kidneys are the primary site for clearing these AGEs from your body. But when they're overloaded, which is very common today, the kidneys have to work overtime, which can create some trouble. So let me reframe your kidneys the way they actually work, because this will change what the fix is going to be. So they're a 2-part filtration plant, basically, and part 1 is this physical screening. So we're looking at like microscopic filters made of collagen that kind of catch waste particles. And then part 2 is a chemical disposal. It's kind of breaking down whatever these screens can't process. But that screening material is protein. It's fine collagen fibers woven into a mesh tight enough to catch these little individual molecules. Now, what does extreme heat and sugar do to protein? It cross-links it, it stiffens it, it glues the fibers together. That's what glycation is. That's the reaction. And here's the mechanical problem you may not know. AGEs accumulate in the glomerular basement membrane, tubules, and vasculature of the kidneys. And these corrosion particles don't just pass through, they deposit in the filter itself. They park in the screen. And for some, this can be a significant problem. Let's look at this study here on the AGEs and age-related diseases. And they say the accumulation of AGEs in the kidney can elevate oxidative stress and inflammation, contributing to renal failure. So here's the 2-headed failure that goes on. This is why just cook better kind of misses half of the problem. This corrosion coming in, when AGE particles hit the kidney tissues, they latch onto a receptor that's fittingly called RAGE. It's the receptor for AGEs. And when that fires, it triggers oxidative stress and pulls inflammatory cells into the tissues. So the exhaust is blocked. Your kidneys are supposed to spit AGEs out, but as the load goes up and this attempt to clear them out kind of falls behind, the concentration starts to climb, and now the sludge is circulating through your whole bloodstream, kind of getting parked in arteries and your nerves and your skin. And here's the loop that makes it self-reinforcing. Let's look at this study here on accelerating aging, the impact of advanced glycation end products on the prognosis of chronic kidney disease. And they tell us in chronic kidney disease, AGEs accumulate due to the increased production, reduced excretion, and the imbalance between oxidant-antioxidant capacities. So that's kind of like a filter choking on its own catch at the same time it's getting fed new sludge. The system isn't weak, it's just kind of outflow limited. That's why the fix has to be 2-sided. We have to cut the load that's coming in and support the ability to clear that system out. So to do this, we need to look at the 4 culprits that kind of add to the load. Now, each one either adds cross links or blocks the cleanup chemistry. I'll kind of show you both. So culprit 1 is high heat. Your pan is kind of like a cross-linking kiln. That brown crust on your steak, that's the Maillard reaction, and it's literally protein cross-linking. Every bit of char is like a glycation event. So that flavor that you love is the sound of protein corroding, basically. Dry heat is an accelerator. Frying, grilling, broiling. You're taking a perfectly filterable protein and you're gluing it into the exact particle system that can't be removed. Studies consistently show that foods like fried bacon and like charred grilled meats carry the highest AGE loads. So to fix this, you change how you're preparing the food. We look at more things like wet heat, like poaching and steaming and stewing and braising. So water blocks that final cross-linking step. It's the same protein, it's a fraction of the glycation. So another step is to add acid first. You can marinate meats in things like lemon or vinegar before you cooking, and that acid kind of caps the protein in so cross-links can't form in the first place. Now the next move is to lower the temperature. Low and slow isn't just for flavor, it keeps the sludge out of your bloodstream. Let's look at this study here on AGE restricted diets, and they say an AGE restricted diet reduces not only the systemic levels of AGEs, but also the levels of markers of oxidative stress and inflammation, shown in both diabetic and kidney disease patients. Of course, with a diabetic or insulin-resistant person, lowering the sugar is also going to be crucial, or that sugar will magnify glycation no matter what they're really doing. Let's look at culprit number 2, which is processed meats. So things like sausage, deli meat, hot dogs. Most of these are pre-cooked or cured at high heat before you even buy them. So the glycation's already ready to go. Bacon is loaded with sugar, and then you fry the bacon crispy at home, so you're kind of cross-linking protein into an absolute AGE bomb, and half the grocery cart is kind of built this way. So the fix is fresh, unprocessed cuts of meat, where you cook them with moisture. So it's the same protein, same satiety, just a fraction of the corrosion that's going on. So things like swapping sausage for stewed chicken. And now you've cut that load of the AGEs, but you didn't lose any flavor. We go over more ideas in our video, Change These 3 Cooking Habits, and we'll put a link to that in the description below this video. But let's look at culprit number 3, which is inorganic phosphates. So this is not a food, it's an additive. But the industry puts phosphate compounds in like cheese and soda and frozen meals and those deli slices to kind of make them creamier and to hold moisture. And here's the mechanical problem. Our body actually needs phosphorus, but your body absorbs nearly 100% of synthetic phosphates versus only about 40 to 60% of the phosphorus naturally in whole foods. So healthy kidneys can clear the surplus for a while, but when clearance slows, phosphorus builds up in the blood, it kind of grabs calcium, and it deposits it where it really shouldn't be. Then those filters get scaled, like hard water buildup inside of a pipe. Let's look at this study here on phosphate additives in food, a health risk. Shows us that this is not just a problem for people with kidney disease. They show concerns for someone who has regular renal function. So the fix here is you kind of got to read the labels. You kind of got to look for things. When you see letters like PHOS, phos, then that's going to have it in there. Phosphoric acid, sodium phosphate, pyrophosphate. Just put it down. Step away from the squirt cheese. Just cook food from scratch. It's real food. You just cook it, and then the problem just disappears. Now, keep in mind that most people don't need to do this for every single meal, but again, just reduce the burden that you're dealing with and give your body a chance here. Now, culprit number 4 is ultra-processed food. So this is kind of the bottleneck of everything coming together. Packaged, pre-cooked fast food items, they arrive already glycated, already phosphated, and they're already salted. And by the time it hits your plate, the load's been locked in. And ultra-processed foods are kind of packed with sodium, which is way different than using sea salt. A lot of people really need more salt, but manufacturers use sodium as a hidden preservative and a texturizer and a color enhancer. It's not just for taste, and it's kind of baked deep into the cellular structure of the food. So you can easily consume like up to 3,000 milligrams of sodium in a single processed meal without it tasting overly salty. Like you would have to dump like tablespoons of sea salt onto a home-cooked meal to reach that same level, and it would be like, it's pretty salty. So for some folks, high sodium really raises blood pressure against an already strained filter that's having trouble as it is. And then phosphates in these ultra processed foods kind of scale the pipes, and AGEs kind of etch into that mesh. And so like one meal has 3 mechanical failures. So the fix is to cook at home. And that doesn't mean you can never go out. There's people out there. Sometimes it's fun to see people. But every home cooked meal is a repair cycle that your kidneys kind of get for free. So when we're looking to repair this situation, cutting the incoming load is half the battle, but your body has its own like D-cross-linking chemistry, and you can kind of feed it. So 2 compounds have direct anti-glycation activity in the literature. That's benfotiamine, which kind of blocks the pathway that forms the AGEs in the first place, and then carnosine, which acts kind of like a trap, kind of catching the reactive molecules before they can cross-link your proteins. And benfotiamine seems to be the most effective by far, where studies show that carnosine is usually only helpful if the person is really deficient in carnosine. So the really helpful steps are to stop making new corrosion, more low, wet kind of cooking methods, using marinades, stop buying pre-corroded foods, get fresh cuts of meat and do real cooking. Be sure to read the labels, looking for those phosphates. And then if a person uses something like benfotiamine, that kind of helps them cheat and maybe get away with a little bit more than what they were getting away before. So just remember, I'm not a doctor, I'm not giving anybody medical advice. I'm basically just a professional stand-up comic turned nutrition author, because when I lost my voice for 8 years and 23 different doctors couldn't help me figure that out, I had to dig for my own answers. So now for 20 years I've been teaching health professionals in more than 40 countries how to help their clients fix the actual underlying causes of problems instead of just covering up the symptoms. But with these studies that I'm linking below, you can dig through those and find the right questions to ask your doctor. So the takeaway isn't to be afraid of every food that's out there. That's not really what you want to do. The kidneys were designed to kind of handle some of this. They just weren't designed to deal with it at the level that we are dealing with it today. Yes, our ancestors have been cooking over fire for a long time, but they didn't deal with the load that we're dealing with. They didn't deal with the insulin resistance that we have today. So every meal is a choice between feeding the filter or feeding the sludge. And you don't have to do everything right, but you need to do enough right for the situation that you're currently in. So I hope that helps you understand how to kind of give your kidneys more of a chance to really thrive. And if you want to learn more of these cooking tricks that can help, you can jump over right now and check out our video on Stop These 3 Cooking Habits That Destroy Your Brain. I can't wait to hear about your results.